Hello again, ladies and gents. Yes, this is an unexpected appearance, so to speak. But you know what? I truly felt the need to come forward and to just give you what I have. And the reason I want to do that is because, you know, this whole pandemic coronavirus thing it's been a bit of a dent in a lot of people's finances. And a lot of times when that happens, much like the recession back in 2008, people are searching for answers. People are searching for opportunities to discover how to make ends meet, to discover how they're going to, figure things out. And for me, it's always been a case of returning to a source that I know is infallible, to a source that I know is capable, and is always ready to provide for me in every single thing that I need. And I can trust that with my own life, right? And so if you're willing to take this journey with me, today's webinar, this is a webinar, not just a regular message, but a webinar, so to speak, where I'm going to share 7 different ways you can clear a path for money into your life, right? 7 different foolproof ways that have worked for me, that have worked for countless others. That's going to allow you to be able to step into that space of manifesting the money you need, the money you desire, maybe even ideas that'll help you prosper from even in being in a place where it doesn't seem like that could be something that could actually happen. I'm telling you, it's all possible. It all can happen. I want to do this, right? This is my desire to give to you and to help you in any capacity possible, because guess what? A lot of times the answers are not out there, in the outlets that we're searching for. So we got to search within, right? And I'm coming to you as your consciousness, letting you know how to make this thing work for you, or even if you're doing well, how to thrive. Okay. And so let's get into this, because this is going to be fun. All right. So 7 tips I got for you. Prospering during the pandemic, prospering during the pandemic, clearing a path for money, not just money, but abundance, an abundance of money, opening up the pathways, the infinite channels that the divine has in order for you to be who you desire to be in every sense of the word, from the standpoint of finances, but more importantly, from the standpoint of wealth. We had a conversation this morning about wealth consciousness, and this ties right into it, guys. And the first thing I'm going to have you do is to not, as I get a text message, the first thing I'm going to have you do is to understand that it is possible for you to prosper during a pandemic. Excuse me. It is possible for you to receive and to create and to manifest money during a pandemic in an abundant capacity, because here is why this is a reason. The divine source, the all that is, the great spirit, God, you may know it, the God in you, the economy of God does not determine, or is not determined by what the world does. The economy of God is determined by what you decide to be conscious of, right? No matter what is happening in the world, no matter what area of life is failing, no matter who is holding back or what is going on, you decide. You are the deciding factor, because God's economy is always thriving. But guess what? We've got to be able to access it in order for it to show up in our own lives, right? The problem is with the world's economy is you can be thriving one day, and the next thing you know, 7 or 8 months, you're out of luck. right? And that's exactly what is happening now, because the faith has been placed in the matter of things and not so much in the matter of source, right? So let's get into this. Heart of Christ webinar, prospering during the pandemic. I tell you, boy, you're gonna make some money after this. I feel it. I feel it, right? Okay, so the first thing we got to do if we're going to allow money to flow into our lives is we have to make the God in us, in each and every one of us, because that's how it is. It is in each and every one of us in an unlimited capacity, right? In an unlimited capacity. So you have to make the God in you, the all that is, the great mother, the source, the divine source, the unlimited spirit that owns everything, is connected to everything. You have to make that your unwavering, faithful source. Is one that comes out of my mouth so fast. You have to make that your unwavering, faithful source. Why? Because the economy of this source does not falter, does not suffer, does not move up and down and bounce around and gives you stress and heartache and fear, like you're not about to know where you're going to make all your bills and how you're going to get this done and that done. No. I had to ask myself the question, do I really think the divine would allow me to come here and willingly suffer without my permission? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And once I figured it out that it was my consciousness that was going to take me, okay, into a place where I could no longer have to consider suffering as an option, I no longer had to consider lack as an option, I was able to prosper at will. I was able to learn soul lessons and still move along the lines of accumulating money, right? In the most intricate, unusual ways, right? A lot of times, you know what our problem is? We stick to one source. And if you got a job, your job is usually your source. And when somebody cuts the legs out from underneath that, guess what? Most people go into panic, right? And so the problem, or there is no problem. The lesson or the blessing even that's coming through with that, the blessing that comes through with that is this. Don't make your job your source. Don't make your spouse your source. Don't make your parents your source. Don't make your siblings, your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever it is. Do not make any of those things your source, because if you will, it will betray you. It will betray you at some point in time in its law, right? Because the divine does not want us to make gods out of things. It wants us to make gods and divinity out of ourselves and out of the spirit that gives us that power. When you do that, I'm going to give you a scripture. You heard me say it all the time. All that the Father has is mine, which means that all that God has is yours. So that's currency, that's cryptocurrency, that's Bitcoin, that's any type of currency in the multiverse is yours, right? So guess what? Number 2, you've got to mentally and emotionally know and feel with conviction you have the money you need and desire. And so I'm going to get into this. This is one of the bullet points. Don't look at money as this physical thing, as these green pieces of paper and these numbers you see in your account. See money as substance, as divine substance energy. You know what substance is? It looks like air, but it's the essence of God that's covering every single aspect of the universe. It's the essence of God that's covering every single aspect and area of the universe. How amazing is that? Right? You can touch the air. Guess what? That's substance. The air you're breathing is substance. Once again, I had to ask myself this question: would the divine in me willingly make me suffer without my permission? Would the God in me willingly say, okay, you're going to thrive in relationships, you're going to thrive mentally, you're going to thrive physically, and then you're going to struggle financially? When we begin to think about how outlandish that sounds, it makes us take a step back and realize, wait a minute. Why, if the presence of God, if the universe is all knowing, all abundant, it can't know lack, why would it choose for me to have lack in one area? Now, one argument is I've got some lessons to learn, right? But then the scripture tells us exactly, above all things, that you may prosper even as your soul prospers. So guess what? You can be learning soul lessons and be prospering at the same time. Be really prospering at the same time. When it comes to struggle, when it comes to lack, when it comes to money, it is a choice. And if you're willing to accept that and take that responsibility, then you have the responsibility to change it. And so if you can change it, guess what? You're clearing a pathway for money to show up. So number two, once again, you've got to mentally and emotionally know and feel with conviction you having the money you need and desire. And how do you do that? Money is mind power, right? That's why I say don't think about it physically, because when you think about it physically, you limit it. But if you think about it in the term of essence, you realize that it's everywhere. It's all over. It's available to you. But what blocks it? Our thoughts, right? Our quote from this morning: no man or woman is different, but thinking makes it so. That's the only difference between somebody who's rich and somebody who's living in poverty. The thinking makes it so, right? And so you've got to get the mental equivalent, the mental and emotional equivalent within you. And what does that mean? That means feeling abundant even before the money comes through you. Because it doesn't come from any outside source. It's coming through you. What you see happening now is a reflection of what's going on the inside of you, right? That's universal law. So we've got to get right on the within, right? Got to get right on the within first. And then once we're right on the within, guess what? Here it comes. And it comes small bits first. Right? It comes small bits first. And after the small bits come, it starts to trickle and trickle and trickle. But see, you just keep doing your thing with your mental acceptance of already having the prosperity, the abundance, the unlimited money that's in your life. You stay focused on that, right? Don't even look at conditions. Jesus says, don't judge by appearances. Judge only by right judgment. And when he says right judgment, he's basically saying, you know what your father has told you. You know what the universe has told you, right? What did he tell you? All that the Father hath is mine. I and the Father are one. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. So you know what the Father has told you. So guess what? Be it unto you as you believe, right? So if you're religious, the Bible is a pure book of prosperity telling you what you need to do to prosper. Plain and simple. Even if you're not religious, the Bible can still tell you how to prosper if you know how to interpret it. But see, something has to get you on that level to where you are acceptant of your good, even when it doesn't look like it's showing up. And that becomes the most amazing thing about us as human beings, that the fact that we can have something in our minds first and then watch it manifest into our lives. And that's life. That's how life is set up to be, right? Money is no different. It's no different. There's no such thing as lack. There's no such thing as struggle until we permit, right? And if you're like me, it's conditioning that you have to get rid of, right? You've got to release that. You got to get rid of that old faulty conditioning where you're thinking that someone outside of you is your source for cash and everything else. No, they're just an outpicturing of your consciousness. Okay, so let's keep that train moving mentally, emotionally. Get that in your mind, get that in your heart with conviction, guys. All right. And so once it's there, here is where you have to be extraordinarily diligent. And I say diligent because, you've got to be really hardcore about this. And the reason why is the moment a negative, I should have put fearful, but I missed it. But negative, doubtful, lukewarm thought gets into your head about money. It's okay if it's one and you kind of shove it off. We are looking at these thoughts that come up that send that emotional charge through the body, right? Those thoughts that come up that all of a sudden say, oh shit, I'm going to go broke, right? Those thoughts that say, you know what, I'm never going to make any money. Things like that. Denounce those, relinquish them completely without question. Why? Why? Because they don't serve you. And if they linger around long enough, guess what? They're going to show up into your reality, right? So if you want to clear a path for money to show up that is even outside of your job, don't entertain negativity. Don't entertain doubt. Lukewarm. You know what lukewarm is? Half and half. Wavering, right? Wavering from side to side. Don't even entertain it. Go straight to faith. Go straight to love. Go straight to expectancy. Understand, what is the God in you's character? What is the universe's number one character? Love. Love, which means to give freely. Look at life. Look at the way life transpires. I always like to look at nature because nature always reminds me of my abundance. And it's given so freely and so openly and so just carefree, right? One of the greatest things I've ever heard is that the divine desires to give to us more than we actually wanted. Okay, so you mean to tell me God wants to give to me more than I wanted and I'm still struggling? I got to scratch my head. I had to scratch my head at that point because I'm like, okay, somebody like who's playing a trick on me, right? Where's Kevin Hart? When is Kevin Hart going to jump out of here? Because something ain't right if I'm seeing all of this evidence that there is a benevolent, wonderful, loving, spiritual being that desires to provide for me in a lavish, abundant way, and I'm still struggling. It's in the mind. The mind. You must get a hold of the mind. And how do you do that? You get rid of, or you release any emotions that are not tied to those things that control the prosperity in your life, which are self-love, self-image, self-worth, self-confidence. Okay. Self-love, self-image, self-worth, self-confidence. Oftentimes, if any of those are lacking, you're going to cut off your supply. Why? Because somehow or another, when those are not in place, you reject your good, right? So I don't have the time to get into this, but those are things you should definitely dive into and see where you're resonating at with this. Because I promise you, you start going within and doing this work, man, and it translates into your life as increase, as we used to say back in the church. It transfers as increase. And that's all we want for you. That's all I want. That's why I'm here doing another webinar or message or whatever it is. No, I enjoy it. So that's why I'm here, because I want to see you prosper. And if you're prospering, I want to see you prosper even more. Number 4. Nope, not where's my abundance. Okay, number 4. Pray for the unlimited money already available to show up for you at the perfect divine time. You remember when I said the money comes through us, not to us, right? So here's how life works. And you may know this, and if you don't, I'm going to school you on something. So everything is basically a reflection of what's going on within your divine mind, which is created to one big, large creative mind principle. Okay? It is all connected to that. And so what happens is each thought, feeling, action, the action's guided by those thoughts and feelings, consciousness is continuously relayed to the ultimate divine mind, right? So that divine mind then outpictures, okay? It outpictures what it is that your consciousness is entailing, right? So this is cool because you can look at your life. If you're doing well, great. If you're doing bad, well, you got to fix it. If you're half and half, that means you're straddling the fence with your consciousness. Like you're really prosperous on one hand, but then all of a sudden something scares you or makes you fearful or doubtful, and then you move to the other side of the spectrum. So our ideal is to be into a place where we are continually moving in a position to where it's just abundance, it's just prosperity, it's just wealth, right? We just know, not even we have to think and feel and affirm, but we just know that everything we need and desire is showing up. Why? Number 4, it's already available, right? Gets back to understanding the realization that money is it's not a real thing per se. The dollars, the yen, the pesos, the baht, all that stuff is an outpicturing of the consciousness, of the thoughts that you are relaying to that creative mind, to that divine mind principle, right? That's all it is. It is your thoughts, your deepest thoughts, feelings, and convictions. That determines whether or not a lot of money shows up or a little bit of money shows up. Whether or not you're bailed out when you're running on low or you just continue to struggle and scrape the bottom, right? And the universe says, nothing personal, my man. I'm just handling business. I'm just here to implement whatever I am given, right? That's why somebody can appear to be extraordinarily bad and be killing it and just be making all types of money, having all types of things. And then the person who looks like a good person is poor, is struggling, can't figure things out. Why? Because the creative mind only responds to our consciousness. So how do we flip that consciousness? Number 4, pray for the unlimited money already available to you to show up at the perfect divine time. The unlimited money I'm talking about is a divine substance that covers every single aspect of the universe, the multiverse, all universes. It's the air you breathe. It's the air I'm like makeshift touching right now. That represents everything, money included. So what does that tell me? Right? What does that tell me? That tells me that I have access to all the money in the universe, right? And I'm not looking at it from a physical standpoint. I'm looking at it from a mental standpoint with my imagination, an emotional standpoint with my feelings. And as Reverend Ike so eloquently put it, feeling gets the blessing, right? You feel into it, it responds to your subconscious mind, deposit into the subconscious mind, relayed to the creative mind principle. Here comes your riches, right? That simple. And what does prayer do? Prayer is like not being able to see and being like this, and all of a sudden you put on glasses and everything's clear. That's what prayer does, right? Prayer at one time was like, Lord, help me, Jesus. No, that's not going to work. I'm sorry to tell you, it's just not going to happen, right? Because that's desperation, that's lack. And that's what is relayed out to the universe. But if you're there saying, I stand in agreement, Father, with your abundance, I stand in agreement, universe, with what is already available, and I know through faith it's coming at the perfect time, bing, you're going to get it, right? Especially if that feeling is there and that knowing, like we talked about in number 2, you're going to get it without question, right? And you just got to stick with this stuff, because sometimes it can be frustrating because it doesn't seem like it's happening fast. But I promise you, it will happen, and it will unfold in the most perfect, amazing way possible. Number 5, guys, desire, right? So I said this morning. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it in a way that I want you to understand. There is absolutely nothing wrong, nothing bad, nothing impure about desiring to have a lot of money. I'm going to say that again. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing impure. There is nothing undesirable about wanting to have more than enough money, lots of money, as much money as you can use to live the very best life for yourself. You remember how we said it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, or God desires to give to you more than you actually want? That's the evidence. Have as much as you want and have a desire for it, right? You want to know how strong desire is? I was on the verge of going broke one time as I was implementing these principles, right? And my desire just would not have it. I began to refute, I began to rebuke, I began to refuse, and I used profanities, and I was just heated and turned up so much. And I said, it ain't gonna be me. I'd be damned if I'm gonna settle for this and go down to experiencing this BS anymore. And that desire just woke up, and literally the next day, all this money showed up. Like the most amazing thing. And at the time I didn't know how, but then I realized desire. Desire means in God, right? And some of the, I think it's a Latin translation. Maybe somebody looks that up, but I'm not sure. I know part of it is in God. So God is the one who placed it on the inside of you, right? So that desire is something that you really want to see happen. You really need to see happen, right? And when it's strong enough, it will knock down barriers. It will keep you from being stuck when the desire is there, right? And so I was in prayer earlier, and I was just thinking to myself, I've heard people say to me multiple times, and I used to say to myself, as my cat is tuning in, I used to say to myself, it's interesting that some people say, I don't need a lot of money. I don't need money. And I used to say that. And I paid for it, because that's exactly what I started getting when I said, I don't need a lot of money. I would tap out, right? And then I thought to myself, okay, let's be really honest about what is unfolding. If I'm going to live in this life, in this existence, and experience the best of all there is, I'm going to need money. I'm going to need lots of it, especially to do something like this. If I don't have money, I can't come to you like I'm doing right now, right? That takes money. If I want to expand, if I want to do a streaming for the orphanage in Thailand, that takes money. So why would I have to feel bad about desiring to have lots of money? And not for greed purposes, but for purposes to expand my resources and magnify who I truly am. I'm going to tell you, if you're a terrible person, it's going to make you even more terrible. But if you're a really good person And I hear really good people say this when I know that money would make them even greater. It's time to uncover that desire and choose the type of money that you want to have. I promise you, when desire comes into play and you're not going to stand for anything else, stuff begins to happen. No doubt about it. All right. You guys are doing great. We're moving along here. Got number 6 and number 7, 30 minutes. Fabulous. All right. So build an accumulative consciousness for money. And this is pretty simple, because all this comes down to is you taking possessive ownership over the money that's already available to you. And I'm not just saying what's in your accounts and what's in your wallet. I'm talking about the divine bounty, the divine trust in substance that is truly unlimited, that's available to you right now, right? And all you say, it's mine. It's mine. You could say an affirmation. And with affirmations, I don't always advocate for them, but if you can find one that turns you on, like all the money in the universe is mine right now, right? Find something that turns you on. Say that. Guess what? It begins to register and you begin to water that seed. All of a sudden, you find it comes to you easy and effortlessly. That's an accumulative consciousness, right? It's just accumulating. You kind of like, oh, well, more money came in today. Got to figure out what to do with that. But it just comes in, right? And you're not even really doing anything. Rather, you've done all the work within yourself and the cash just flows, right? And I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with this. I grew up extraordinarily religious, and a lot of times I had conditioning about it was bad to have this or have that. And when I finally got over that, I finally was able to let myself be worthy enough to deserve, a lot of money, a lot of cash, right? But it's just getting to that point. I'm here to tell you it's okay. It's better than okay. It's one of the best things about this life because of what it allows you to do. But building a cumulative consciousness, and all that does, take possession, right? Take possession of the kingdom, right? Take possession of the divine substance that is present everywhere in the universe. Take dominion, if you're into the Bible, right? And just never look back, right? Never look back, and know that all that you are is yours, right? All that you have is yours. You see something out there, like you ever see a nice car drive by and you say, wow, that's a nice car. Next time you see that, or you see a house, say, it's mine. It's mine. And it might not be that specific house, but the universe registers. Your subconscious mind registers, okay, house just like this one. And then down the road, you buy a house and it's got similar aspects, if not the exact same aspect to that house you see. Start possessing, start taking ownership over it, guys. And I promise you that will start to maneuver and start to change the way the universe is shaped, because that's what we want, right? It's all a dance. It's a cosmic dance waiting for you to impart your impressions upon it. Up to us, right? Number 7. Okay. So we spoke a little bit about this earlier, and this doesn't just go for money. This goes for a lot of different things, right? So there's a quote that used to say, whatever it is that you're lacking, it means you're not giving enough of it, right? And don't be surprised if you ask to prosper and then someone comes and asks you for money, right? Why is that? Well, sometimes if you've had issues with giving and you're trying to make more, universe is very, very intelligent. It says, okay, we got to get you over the idea of not giving, of holding on to the money you have and getting attached to the physical physical form of it, we need you to relinquish that so we can take you to another level, right? But it's up to you to see if you're going to pass the test, all right? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but guess what? It comes right back. You've done all 1 through 6. You've built up that consciousness. You're feeling good about yourself. You're feeling rich. And you say, I need $20,000 a month. Guess what? Somebody comes along. Hey, I need you to hook me up with some. I'm not doing well. And you know what you do? First thing you do is you go within to make sure that it's in your highest good to offer to this, this individual. And if it's on point, then you know for a fact that is the sign from heaven, from the divine coming to you. Okay, if you want more, give more and give from your heart, right? And know that it may not even come back from this very channel, but it will come back, and it will come back multiplied, right? Because here's the thing. When I lacked love in my life, I gave myself love. Remember? Self-love. And all the love came into my life in a multitude of immeasurable capacity. Just amazing how that worked, right? When I wanted to have more money, or let's say, more opportunities, I gave more money away. I gave more opportunities. I gave of my time. See, that's one that we don't even really think of. But if we give away our time, that can create more opportunities for us to do what we love. And what does that mean? That means volunteering. That means, right now I'm offering you my time, 36 minutes, 40 seconds of my time, and what does that do? That creates more opportunities for me. But the truth of the matter is, it comes from the heart. And when it comes from the heart, the universe can reciprocate that. If it's selfishly giving, then you might not see anything happen. So following back with money, the whole idea of giving is to take you out of attachment, right? It takes you out of attachment, because here's the thing. When you hoard money, it stagnates, it dies, right? Money was made to be circulated, which is give and receive, give and receive, give and receive. If that balance is good in your life, guess what? You're on point. If you're having issues with that balance where you're a little bit overdrawn, that means something within you, in your thought, in your consciousness, is causing that to happen. And you have to figure that out. But the best way to figure that out is to give, and give from the heart, right? And so, a lot of times we find ourselves like thinking, well, if I give, I might not have enough for this, or if I give, I might be broke and such and such. No, it doesn't work like that, right? The divine wants you to give because it knows if you're not attached to money, you basically won't lose your mind if something happens and you have to give away a portion of it. You know that consciousness within you. Here's the thing. When you have a wealth, prosperity, abundant consciousness, a money consciousness, it's not contingent upon the money you have, right? The money consciousness is within you, right? So it doesn't matter if you have $2 to your name right now. If you have a money consciousness, money has to flow back into your life. So if you really think about this, you're never, ever broke or struggling at any point in time, because money consciousness means money go out, money come right back in. And you just keep the flow going, right? And you never get trapped in believing, what did Jesus say again? Appearances. You never get trapped up into appearances and fall victim to believing, oh gosh, I only got this much. No, you go back to number one, like we said, you make God your source. The source can never lack, right? It is impossible for the source to lack. And if the source is you and you are the source, guess what? It is impossible for you to lack. My dears, This information transforms financial existence in an enormous capacity, right? Because it gets us to the understanding that money is just a matter of the mind. It's a matter of the mind, blending the mind, the body, and the spirit together to elevate it to a higher level of existence. But see, you got to do all that within and build that consciousness. And then that consciousness relays that to the creative mind, and it shows up in your life. Simple, 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 simple. Not always easy, but simple, right? And then when you begin to build, not just build money, but build confidence, it shows up. It shows up like it shows up opportunity. Universe says, okay, you're ready. You're ready to give because you know in your heart from your consciousness that it's not about your physical cash. It's not about your paycheck, right? It's not about any of that stuff. It is about who you are within that is determining how rich or how poor you are. That simple. You want to make the most of the money you have and continue to rise higher. Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Give. Give of yourself, of your gifts, of your talents. Give of your money if it's money you wish to see expand in your life. That is an infallible principle, especially when it comes from the heart, because it proves you're not attached to it. And that which you're not attached to always seems to flow in greater quantities in your life. And this is proven if you look at a place where an area of your life where you're thriving, you often realize that you're not putting much effort. You're just kind of doing what you know how to do. You see, what happens is those areas we completely surrender to the guy within, and so it becomes easy. But then there's other areas that we pick where we try to do all the work and we get attached to the results and try to control and create anxiety and fear, and then we lose out. But all we need to do is kind of do like we're doing with that area where it's working. Look at all the areas where it's really working in your life, right? Take those qualities of yourself from there and place it into the area you're struggling, and you won't struggle in that area anymore. Something to think about. All right, guys, that is 43 minutes of my time. And I'm so appreciative because I feel like I'm going to go back and watch this later because I think this is absolutely phenomenal as it relates to the idea of prospering and prospering in a way that is beneficial to you during the pandemic, clearing the pathway for money. Okay. So with that being said, we just talked about giving, and this is a ministry, ladies and gentlemen. I encourage you, right? I encourage you, not just for my good, but for your own good. Give, right? If you have benefited, if you have been inspired, empowered, encouraged during this 43 minutes that we've been together sharing this information, guys, by all means, sow a seed. And don't just sow it, pray over it. And once you sow it into my ministry, I'll pray over it that it expands because you've given from the heart. Right? And it's that ability to give from the heart that explodes the blessings of life into your existence. Bible says God loves a cheerful giver, right? He loves a cheerful giver. Why? Because he continues to give to a cheerful giver to give more. It's a beautiful cycle when it's done from a pure place. But understand that seed, the seed you sow, never leaves your life, right? It never leaves your life. It just keeps circulating over and over and over and over again, right? And the seeds we sow they grow into like trees, right? And they expand. And what's amazing is financial seeds don't just transform into more financial plants and trees. It moves into other areas of your life, right? It moves into other areas of your life. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that you let it go and you watch how it comes back multiplied, right? Comes back multiplied, overflowing with good measure, right? And it's moving from that place of love, being inspired to say, you know what? I'm going to return the energy. I'm going to spread the energy of love, which is God in expression, right? God in action. That's all money is. And allow it to come back into my own life. Just like that. So if you are feeling moved to sow a seed today, once again, pray over your seed. I will pray over it once it goes into the ministry, and expect it to return. Expect it to return to your life in a capacity that will absolutely blow your mind, right? Bigger the seed, the bigger the harvest, right? It's all about just having that faith to be able to move yourself, to not be attached to something that you have a lot of. We all do, right? There's an unlimited access to the amount of money in this world, in this universe. And when you know that consciously, it no longer becomes an issue, right? So move to not making it an issue by opening your heart and being able to give to a good cause. If it's this cause, Venmo, Heart of Christ Ministry, PayPal, ShaunG04 at gmail.com. Apple Pay, we can do upon request if you do that. But thank you in advance for your kindness and your generosity. And I'm telling you, the seed you sow never leaves your life. The seed you sow never leaves your life. Remember that. And with that being said, guys, it has been 47 minutes, 10 seconds. I'm about to go take off this tie. If you, once again, have benefited from this pod webinar, whatever it is, feel free to share it. Feel free to allow other people to see it, because nobody needs to struggle during the pandemic. Nobody needs to be in financial discord or disharmony during the pandemics. We should all be prospering, because why? God's economy does not do this up and down. God's economy does not do that, right? It stays abundant forever and ever, waiting for you to access it, right? Being open, having faith. Trust it. Believe me. Thank you so much, guys. It has been an absolute wonderful pleasure. Take care of yourself, and we will talk soon.